It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. With a lot of hockey and baseball to a little BS. It's the BS Sports Show with Brendan Azoff and Stefan Rosner on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BS Sports Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. It's been a tough start to this episode with technical difficulties, so we're going to have to get right back into this episode. We're going to skip over a couple of things. We're figuring out on the fly with you all. We do have two great interviews on the show, though. We have Tolik Borts, the owner of Altrunite, which is a non-profit organization. They make custom face masks out of game-used jerseys that have been donated and fans' jerseys as well. The Rangers actually wore those masks in the bubble, which is pretty cool. We're going to talk to them about that. At 10:30, we will have Mark Scheig of the Hockey Writers, who covers the Columbus Blue Jackets, on to discuss their brief playoff run and what the future holds for them. So, Stefan, finally, let's get the show off the road.
Yeah, that was a tough start, but, the show must go on. Quickly, before we start, Brendan, I have a surprise for you. Your jersey came in today. So your Panarin jersey came in. So finally. This is the deal, though. If you bet against the Islanders tomorrow, my dog is betting this, and it can do whatever it wants, and I'm closing my eyes. So just be smart about it.
Well, I'm glad you told me that before I did it. So now I will definitely bet on the Flyers. Well, we're going to go into some stuff here. Obviously, we wanted to talk about the Blues. We're going to skip over that due to time constraints. So we're going to go to the Dallas Stars first. Obviously, a big surprise, them going up 2-0 on the Colorado Avalanche. And the team that looked like they couldn't find any offense coming into the first round and the round robin play, they were completely struggling to score. And now all of a sudden, their offense is just world beaters over there. They're all putting the puck in the back of net, led by veteran Joe Pavelski.
Yeah, so you look at the second line, since you just brought up Joe Pavelski. He is having a great playoff. 7 goals, 2 assists. He's winning 51.37% of his draws. But it's been that whole line. You have Janmark and Gurianov on that line. And they have just produced. And you think, okay, the offense is up. They're scoring 3.16 goals per game. Okay, against Calgary, they scored 3.16 goals per game. So they've scoring. And now you're looking at the Avalanche. This is an Avalanche team that everyone expected to just stroll right to a Stanley Cup final. They look at that at the pieces. They had Grubauer and Net playing great hockey. They were scoring goals. They were playing tight defense. And you're seeing the Dallas Stars come to life, expose them. Grubauer goes down hurt. Eric Johnson, defenseman, goes down hurt. You have Pavel Francouz in net. And he's not Grubauer, but you've seen this Colorado Avalanche team all out of sorts. You could blame it on injury, what you want, but they could go down 3-0 this series really quickly if they don't figure it out.
They can, and the person that they have to figure out is Anton Khudobin, who's just been absolutely remarkable so far for the Dallas Stars. Ben Bishop unfit to play. You think that's a big loss in goal due to Ben Bishop's success in the playoffs and his career numbers, but Khudobin, 930 save percentage this postseason, 249 goals against, 921, excuse me. He led the NHL in the regular season with the 930 save percentage. So all year long, he's been extremely solid for them, and he's continued that. And McKinnon is really the only player for the Avalanche that's been able to figure him out. A couple of goals this series, a lot of points this postseason. If they do advance, it'll probably be because of him, and he's in line for the Conn Smythe if they do go all the way. But Khudobin's been phenomenal. He's really backbone to Stars team that's bear down in their own end and use transition to their advantage.
The funny thing about the Stars, when you think about it, you think about the top talent they have. Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin. They have 3 goals combined.
Yeah.
They're not the top guys, and that's okay. I mean, yes, you want to see them produce more, but they've shown depth scoring that every team needs in a Stanley Cup playoff run. And for Khudobin, you look at this guy and you don't think, all right, he's not in your head, he's been around the league a while, backup. You don't think he could step up, but the key for him is his positioning. This is not a guy. He's a big boy, like not big as in tall, just a big husky goaltender. And usually for those types of goaltenders, it's focus on positioning because the sprawling acrobat, he's not a Carter Hart. He's not a 22 flexible kind of guy. Yep. But his positioning has been spot on. And this is the reason why the Stars are doing so well right now.
Yeah, you mentioned the injuries to the Avalanche, which obviously play a huge role. Anytime you lose somebody as valuable as a goaltender, it's going to hurt your team. But I think Eric Johnson, the way he was playing this postseason, might even be a bigger loss. Pavel Francouz was doing great this postseason, this regular season. And he hasn't played terrible, but Granted, there's a couple he wants back, and coming off the bench is always a hard spot, especially in games of this magnitude. But Eric Johnson was so solid for the Avs on the back end. And to lose him basically on the first pair with McCarr, it's a big hole to fill for the guys that are stepping in. And I think that we've seen those lapses happen more often now because that guy is not there. And for the Avalanche, obviously their coach, Jared Bednar, said Eric Johnson's out long-term. Somebody's going to have to step up. I don't know if it's Gerard or who else it's going to be, but somebody's going to have to go with McCarr and not worry about the offense, but be solid defensively.
Yeah, and you look at Eric Johnson, he hasn't been the superstar defenseman. He's been a great defenseman throughout his career, but you were waiting for him to become a superstar. He never did, but he's a veteran leader on the back end, and he's played well. And to lose a guy like that, especially long-term, which means that if they make it to the Cup, he's not going to be a part of it. That's a tough pill to swallow, but this Avalanche team, again, they look like one of the better teams going into this, and they still have the pieces. You don't have Grubauer, but Francouz isn't a joke. The way he plays, he's a solid goalie. They just have to step it up now. It's all about the next man up attitude. And we see it for other teams like the Islanders when Pelech went down, or, we're seeing in other sports where it's, all right, next guy up, who's going to take the opportunity and run with it? McKinnon's done what he could, but it's pretty much been just McKinnon.
Yep. And
that's a problem because the longer you go into a playoff run, it's got to be more of a team effort because these games are hard. They're tiring. McKinnon's putting as much effort out there as possible, but he can't score 5 goals on his own, and he can't play defense, and he can't stop pucks. Someone has to step up.
Yeah, it's going to take a team effort for them to get back into the series, but if there's a team that can do it, the Avalanche have the offensive personnel to do it. Quickly, we're going to get into the Zello NHL scoreboard update brought to you by Zello Clothing. Head over to ZelloClothing.com or check out their latest styles on Instagram at ZELLO Clothing. So the Islanders dropped today's game. The series now tied 1-1 to the Flyers in OT. Philly won 4-3. And the Lightning are currently up on the Bruins 4-1. They're actually shooting them 16-9. So pretty dominating performance by them. Later on, we'll see the Avalanche and the Stars in Game 3. A must-win for Colorado.
Oh, definitely a must-win. And for the Lightning and the Bruins, this brings us to our next point here. And can Yaroslav Halak play well enough to get this Boston Bruins team to the Stanley Cup Finals? And for me, his stats, they say stats don't lie, but we look at stats, right? Since Rask left, well, we'll see what happens in this game. But since Rask left, the Bruins are 4-1. All right, he left on August 15th. They had a game that day, shocked the hockey world. He left for reasons that, obviously, family emergency, you have to do that. Halak has a 4-1 record, .923 save percentage, 2.2 goals against average. Before this game has nothing to do, but he has a negative .14 GSAA. That's goals saved above average. And obviously negative means he's not stopping. If it's positive, it means he's stopping more pucks than the average goalie in the NHL. But he's at negative right now, which means he's not. And we've seen in these games, he gives up some weak goals. Fortunately for him, his team has come back more than often than not to bail him out. But, you need a confident goalie back there. And when a goalie gives up a goal and looks to the sky, it's tough. But again, he's fortunate he's on a Bruins team. But do you have the faith in him to get it done? And for me personally, seeing him on the Islanders, he played well. I'm not going to knock him. I don't trust him to come up with a big save in a big moment.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that when Rask left, it was almost a talking point around the NHL, kind of like a sigh of relief for the Bruins players to get that over with. Obviously, Rask had family concerns. He didn't want to be there. And you can understand that it's hard for a veteran player that already has a family to leave them for an elongated period of time. But Halak went in there, the team rallied around it, and they played very well in front of him. Obviously, you mentioned how he's not making the big saves, but his numbers are okay. And the Bruins defensively as a unit have been so structured that the pucks from the outside he's going to stop. This is a veteran goalie, not a rookie. So some of them, I guess we should say. But overall, they're winning the close games. They're getting clutch goals when they need to. And the Lightning are a team that's going to put pressure on Halak. If their Bruins are going to advance to the next round, he's going to have to make a couple of big saves. And that GSAA number is going to have to go positive instead of negative. So not off to a good start tonight.
This is that's for sure. 4-1 with 7:28 and counting to go in the second. But look back at Game 3 against the Carolina Hurricanes. The Bruins scored 4 goals in 6:51 to erase a 2-0 deficit and win that game. He gave up a weak goal in that game, and his team came back and rallied. You just talked about it. Their defense. Halak's got it. Usually, the goalie credits the defense, but he's really got to buy them dinner or something because without them playing shut down, his stats would not be as pretty as they look right now, and they're a little deceiving.
They are. And you talked about that game, how the Bruins erased a 2-0 deficit. If you're looking at a 4-1 score right now in the second period, all Halak has to do now, shake off those 4 and hold the fort down. Because this is a Bruins team that can score 3 goals in the third period if they have to come back. And we just saw it today with the Islanders down 3-0. They managed to come back and force OT. So they're not out of the equation yet. And Halak has to be able to fortify that net right now and hold true to form. He can't allow any more goals in this game. And if he does, the Bruins are not going to win and they're going to be in the hole in the series. Something that I don't necessarily know how they're going to be able to react to. We saw in the round robin play, once they lost that first game, it kind of all steamrolled into effect there. But they came out against Carolina, looked strong, and were able to hold that through the series. Game 1, they looked strong too. And now after a loss, how can they respond?
Yep. Halak has allowed 4 goals on his 16 shots. Do the math. It's not pretty.
Not good.
But let's move on to today we're looking like a great day for the Islanders. We'll get to it. Looking like a great day off the bat. It seemed like they had the motivation. They had they came out strong. They go down 3-0 in this game in the first. Varlamov gets chased from the net. Thomas Greiss, who has not played a game since March, I think it was March 7th, has not played a game. He was awful in the second half. This was Varlamov's net to lose. Varlamov did break a record though, Brendan. 40 seconds into this game. 137 minutes without allowing a goal is the longest shutout in the playoffs for the New York Islanders since Billy Smith mark in 1980 of 136 minutes and 59 seconds. But we talked about this, Brendan, that once this ended, the floodgates would open. And while 3 goals is not a floodgate opening, it's more of like a little drip. We'll talk about this goal in a second. We have a lot to talk about with this goal. The first goal, beautiful shot by Hayes. He cheats a little bit for the pass. Not a good goal in my books, but we'll talk about that. Second goal, he cheats again, gets beat. So now it's 2-0. In the third goal, Nick Leddy gets absolutely dummied by Sean Couturier, who just bodies him off, waits out Varlamov, shoots and scores. Greiss gets his stuff on, comes into the game, and Greiss plays well. He does not let the Flyers score for the remainder of the game. The Islanders find a way to come back and tie this one up with a little over 2 minutes to go in regulation. J.G. Pajot from the slot, wide open, where he makes his money, scores a goal, go to overtime. Mess in front of the Islanders net where it looked like, was it Couturier or Voracek?
Couturier, yep.
Couturier running from the net, had a wide open net, misses wide, flutter of the puck goes to the point. Shot comes from Myers at the point, deflects of an Anders Lee stick, and beats Greiss, high glove side. He did not really have a chance, obviously, watching the replay. Islanders lose.
The puck hit the ice.
Series is 1-1. Tough blow for an Islanders team that just didn't play strong. The Flyers really came at them. They weathered the storm. They found a way to come back. All credit to them. Not the result you wanted. Trotz, after the game, definitely wasn't happy with the performance. After the win last game, he said he didn't like the way his team played in the second and third period, wasn't happy, even though they got the win. Alain Vigneault challenges an offsides call on the Pajot tying goal late in this one. Too close to challenge in my book, though, because if you lose a challenge, the NHL, this is the second year that they're doing this rule, and they'll stay a rule. If you lose a challenge, there's a power play to the other team, and the Islanders got a power play with time expiring. I think only 2 minutes left, less than that. They can't find a way to score. We go to overtime, and they don't get the job done. So really, it was a tough pill to swallow. Game 3 is tomorrow. It's 7:00 tomorrow night, and that's a big game for this series, especially it's a back-to-back.
It is a big game, and I expect Varlamov to get that start. And
Same.
I think that we had discussed how every shutout streak ends, right? So we knew it was coming, and it was a matter of time. And usually when you see a team and goaltender on that kind of defensive run and where they're not allowing anything, the Islanders as a team were not allowing anything. There's always going to be that one leaky period, and they had that today. And the sign of a good team is they were able to keep that to one period and rally around it and come back. There's a fine line between that period carrying over into the second. Next thing you know, you're down 5-6-0, and it's over. It's a washed game. But they came back, and that, as somebody who doesn't like watching the Islanders win, that was very impressive to see that mental fortitude. But we'll get into this before we move on, is that first goal. Kevin Hayes coming down the wing, probably about 45, 50 feet out. I think it's an absolute snipe, goes bar down. He's on a 2-on-1. You'd think he was cheating. I'm going to give my pitch first. To beat a goaltender from that far out has to be a perfect shot. Yes, he might have been playing the pass, but if he doesn't play the pass there, Kevin Hayes is not going to shoot. He's going to pump fake and then move it over. And odds are it goes into the back of the net as well. I think that just the fact of how far out he was and how he was able to go short side, bar down, that's the only place that was going. And if it was half an inch lower, Varlamov is getting that puck. So I think it's a perfect shot.
I agree with you. That was the only way that shot was going in. So if you want to say that Hayes had a quote-unquote perfect shot to score, yes. Let's go back to basics, Brendan. Goaltending 101 with Stefan Rosner, okay?
Play the shot. Yeah.
You play – well, first, that's not even the – I don't even have a problem that off the bat. You play the shot. The pass goes over. That's on your defense, not on you as a goaltender. Obviously, he wants to anticipate that and stop it. The problem is he anticipated that, and instead of being square to the shooter – he was cheating. When the shot came, he realized the shot was coming too late. He stuck his blocker out, and it went wide. It beat him, right? If he plays that shot perfect, plays the shot the whole time coming in, that is a block. You watch it. It just misses the shaft of his stick. It would have hit a stick or a blocker. I could 100% say that would have happened. Because he was off his spot by an inch or two, that goal goes in. So if you want to say, I will agree with you if you want to say, that was the shot that is the only place you could have put it to beat them. Yes. But if Varlamov is actually watching the shot the whole time, that is a routine stop with the puck going to the corner, and it's not a goal that changes the outcome of this game. But for the Islanders, they gave up way too many odd man rushes in the first period. That's what they were scoring, odd man rushes. Hayes, 2 short side goals. It's not really an odd man rush on a one-on-one, but it's really hard to beat a defenseman, except if you're Sean Couturier, big body, just pushed him right off the puck and waits out Varlamov. 2 goals for me, Varlamov wants back. You could say whatever you want about that first one. Perfect shot, fine. But Varlamov, this is a save that he has made. He would make in the whole entire series the way he was playing, and he didn't really come up with a big save tonight for the Islanders. They go down to the lead. They go down early, 3-0. Grice comes in, like I said, shuts the door. But you have to have that first shot. And that first goal, second goal for Hayes. He cheats the pass again. I don't care if your defense slides and he doesn't give you an opportunity. You know the pass is coming. You really think it's going to come. He's already beat you short side once. Why on earth would you not play? That was a disgusting goal, and I actually thought he was going to get pulled after that one. In my head, in Grice's head, definitely, the wheels started turning that I might be going into this game. And for Islander fans that once they saw Grice come in and got very nervous, you're not alone. No faith in Grice at all. But what the Islanders did really well is they shut down, they played tighter defense. With a guy like Grice who hasn't seen action in a while, it is very hard to control your rebounds, read the plays, all that kind of stuff. He hasn't played in a playoff game. There's no fans. Complete atmosphere has changed. And he played well at controlling his rebounds. But again, everything was from the outside. He wasn't tested. And the Islanders did a great job doing that. They had to do that because if they came back and tried to win this game, they couldn't let Grice they couldn't let Grice allow a goal. This game had to stay 3 or less, and they did that.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, yes, he was cheating a little bit, but if you watch the play, Kevin Hayes is like, you watch the goalie, I watch the shooter. Kevin Hayes saw him come off that angle a little bit, let it rip instantly. And that's why it goes in the back of the net. So it's all the mind games, right? I mean, you're saying if a goalie, if Kevin Hayes sees Varlamov playing him straight up, he's not taking that shot because, like you said, it does get stopped. So it's the beauty of hockey, just a simple little, redirect. It's like a hitter in baseball guessing the pitch. You guess right or wrong. You look silly if you guess right. It's a home run. But I agree with you. I thought that the second one was awful. The third one is just, it's not even a great move. It's just he had the will to get there, and Letty's got to be stronger than that on the body. But, we're going to go into something that's not game related right now with the Pittsburgh Penguins and Toronto Maple Leafs making big news during the Stanley Cup playoffs. Both teams are eliminated, but they didn't take any time off as they swung a trade. Kasperi Kapanen is the big name in this trade, moving from Toronto to Pittsburgh, along with a defenseman in Jesper Lindgren and left winger Pontus Aberg. They go to the Pittsburgh Penguins. In return, Pittsburgh gives up a whopping return, in all honesty. Their first round pick, which is 15th overall in this year's draft, left winger Evan Rodriguez, their 4th ranked prospect, Philip Hallander, who's a center, and a defenseman in David Warsofsky. Just a massive haul for a player that put up 36 points in 69 games this season. And if you're a team like the Rangers, who's got Ryan Strome and Tony DeAngelo waiting in the wings of a potential trade, you got to be licking your lips.
This might be worse than the Brandon Tanev signing, and I'm saying that right now.
Oof.
Because you look at this, right? And I'm no statistician and salary cap ologist, whatever the word is. Look it up in the dictionary. At me, whatever the word is. You give up a first-round pick. And then you also give up your fourth-ranked prospect, which I'm not sure when he was taken, but that's like giving up a first-round pick in itself, first or second, wherever they took him, because he's a top player who's going to help. Yes, the Maple Leafs have cap room. They get rid of their guys. They get an incredible return. The Maple Leafs won this trade by far. I mean, we have to see how it plays out. If Kapanen comes to the team and scores 40 goals next year and goes off, yeah, then we like, you know what? Was it worth it? Let's see what happens. But you look at this on paper and it's just like, what are the Penguins doing? And now the Penguins have even, different news is they have a goalie situation they have to figure out. Rutherford, the GM of the Penguins, said one of the goalies is getting traded, either Murray or Jarry. And before we get to our interview with Tolik Borts coming up at 9:50, let's talk about this a little bit, all right? Matt Murray, 20-11-5, 2.87 goals against, 899 save percentage this season in 38 games. Jarry, 20-12-1, 2.43 goals against average, 921 save in 33 games. He was an all-star. Murray starts in the playoffs. For me, and I'll let you get for me, Murray, he's 26, RFA, injury-prone, but has 2 Stanley Cups. Jarry, 25, having a bounce-back year after an injury-riddled season in 2019, also an RFA. For me, I think they keep Jarry. I think that he's just going to be a better goalie for them. Yes, Murray's got the 2 cups, but he's been injury-prone, inconsistent play. But the question is, who's going to want a guy like Murray that's injured all the time? You're trading for an injury that's going to – most likely he's going to be hurt at some point or another next season. So I think Jarry's worth more. They get more in return for Jarry. But I think for the Penguins, especially getting Kapanen, they're trying to get younger. They have an aging core. Their time is running out with that core. I think Jarry gives them the best success.
I agree. But at the same time, like you mentioned, Matt Murray does have 2 Stanley Cups under his belt. He had an injury-riddled season, but there's no guarantee that he's going to be injured next year. So maybe a team takes a flyer and says, listen, this guy's going to bounce back. So I don't know how much bigger of a return they're going to get from Jarry over Murray. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be more about fit. But as you see with this trade, this isn't a trade that we're going to look on next year and say, oh, Toronto won it because they're just drafting somebody this year. They got a prospect in it who's a big prospect. I don't think that it's somebody like if they draft somebody really good 15th overall and then 3 years from now he's scoring 30 goals, Pittsburgh already lost this trade. But if Kapanen comes in next year, slots in with Crosby, say, or Evgeny Malkin, has success, they do move one of these goaltenders and get another piece. That's the only way this move works for both sides is because Pittsburgh sees that this window is really shrinking right now, 2 first-round exits in a row. They need to win next year if they have a chance.
It looked like a desperate move, and you never want to be desperate when you're making a trade because you lose all the power. Toronto was probably saying, "Oh, you really want Kapanen to get this, a rebuild started in there, get a young core? All right, give us this, give us this, give us this." If the Penguins really think that their time's running out and they really wanted this guy, they're willing to give him everything, and they pretty much did.
Yeah, it's a little odd to me because watching Pittsburgh play, they had a little bit of trouble scoring, but they also ran into Carey Price, who was extremely hot that series. To me, their problem was on the back end. I think that they need to bolster that defense because we've seen it so far. The teams can outscore you no matter what. If you have a good defense like the Islanders have, say, it's impossible for teams to score you. That's why they're having as much success as they are right now. That's the route you should take to win. So the fact that they went out and acquired Kasperi Kapanen, who's a forward, Pontus Aberg, who's another NHL-ready winger, Jesper Lindgren is an AHL defenseman who has a couple of issues defending at the NHL level. At least that's what the scouting report said. So he's not going to be able to come in immediately and help you. They just keep going for offense. Like you mentioned, the contract they gave out to Brandon Tanev. It's why, right? All that contract does now is you can't sign anybody defensively. You have an aging Chris Letang, an aging Jack Johnson. They have Marino, who in his rookie year looked very, very solid. But, I mean, it's tough. That's where they have to build. I don't know. I would say build through the draft, but they just gave away their best pick. So very, very interesting to see how Pittsburgh tries to transition that defense.
I just want to read off how much they gave Brendan Tanev, right?
Yep.
Ready for this? Brendan Tanev, I'll look at his stats after this before we get to the interview. 6 years, $21 million. That's $3.5 million a year. This guy was playing fourth-line minutes on Winnipeg. He comes over and he's playing fourth-line minutes on the Pittsburgh Penguins. I just want to look it up because I don't think it was a good year. And for if you're giving a guy that much money, right?
Yep.
How many goals do you think he has to be scoring at a minimum for it to be worthwhile? How much are you willing to? How many goals do you think he has to score?
It was tough. I mean, they knew signing him that he was a role player, so I would say he would need 15 goals to have success, but he would also have to do all the little things right to live up to that. Penalty kill, situational stuff.
He had a down year.
From a down year.
2018, 2019. His career high first is 14 goals. Career high in points is 29. Okay?
Yep.
Not a guy that impacts the score sheet that much. This season, 11 goals, 14 assists. So not only was his goals down, his assists were down, points down. He went from a +9 last year with the Winnipeg Jets to a -1 with the Penguins. I mean, okay, look at it as it's a shortened season by they played 68 games. Not enough for maybe he gets a few more goals. Maybe he puts up 14. Regardless, not worth his contract. But we're seeing Rutherford. It's like Rutherford doesn't want a job anymore. It looks like he's trying to get fired, and best he could. He's like, please, what do I have to do? Trade Hall for Larson? Like, what does he have to do to get out of here? And even that trade didn't get who was it?
Cirelli
out of there. So Peter Cirelli, yeah, God bless him.
That was horrendous. And then the fact that he came out, by the way, and said that he traded for the wrong Larson is wow.
That's an argument for another day. All right. Without further ado, we will get Tolik Borts on here to talk about his company, Altrunite. Mr. Tolik, how are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. How are you today, Mr. Rosner?
We are doing good. Thanks for coming on the show. So let's get right to it. So tell us about your non-profit organization and what your goals are.
All right. So we are a nonprofit organization recently formulated by the name of Altrunite, Altrunite. So we have set out to do a few initiatives, a few goals that we have in mind. So most recently, we have set out to donate high quality handmade custom face masks with intentions to distribute them to hospitals, not-for-profit organizations, EMS stations, fire stations, frontline employees, so on and so forth. But the general goal through the not-for-profit was to reach deeper into the community and really extend our hands to help underserved communities. So what we begun to do was to collect secondhand sports equipment and to donate to families that aren't fortunate enough to provide for themselves, registration and cost fees for sports teams. We are in the process of formulating a charity hockey game as well. So we have a couple of things that we have in mind that we are currently working on, but the basic idea here is to network and to reach into the community and do anything we can possibly do.
That's awesome, man. We will, like, from us to you, we really appreciate what anyone does for the community, and that you're going out there and trying to help out. Round of applause to you guys. Hope for your success.
And Brendan, nice to meet you as well. I haven't had the opportunity to say hello, and I do apologize, but
it's fun. I was just going to say the same thing. It's a pleasure to meet you, and I've seen your mass out there, especially as a Rangers fan. So credit to you. You guys are doing a great job. And
thank you.
You're welcome. Altrunite, it's a very unique name. Obviously, people that see it may not be familiar with it. So can you give us the backstory on how you came up with it and what it means to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did have the opportunity to create like a thank you card. So the word Altrunite, so it is derived from a person. It's derived from the word altruist. So it's opposite of an egotist. It's an individual or a person or a group of unselfish concerns for the welfare of others. It's a basic moral principle for the happiness of human beings. So it's the word altruist. The word knight, being a Brooklyn native, we called ourselves Brooklynites. So we took ultra and knight and put them together. So that's how we came up with Altrunite.
That's awesome. It really stands out. Brendan is from Brooklyn, so
I am. I'm from Brooklyn, and I used to use the Brooklynite stick. So the Brooklynite term has been very near and dear to my heart.
What players have you teamed up with so far, and what players are you looking to team up with in the future?
Recently, the former New York Rangers players that we were able to have a communication wavelength was with, let's see, starting with Ron Duguay, Ron Greshner, Matthew Barnaby was a fantastic connection. Aaron Asham, my boy Darius Kasparaitis. So we tried to target the tough guys. Tom Laidlaw, I had just a wonderful opportunity to be on his podcast today, which was a true blessing. Yep. And most recently, of course, as a partner to Altrunite was Adam Graves. Wow. We were very fortunate enough to team up with him and his foundation by the name of Smile Zone. We have committed to donate 100% of the profits from our services and our products to be directly donated to his foundation. We were recently invited to his what they call is a 24-hour hockey challenge, hockey tournament. I'm sorry. So we were invited there as a partner and as a sponsor. The goal is to reach $9,000. So it's a good reason to donate. So we were actually just finished our donate forum and our story forum on our website. So yeah, I mean, the ultimate plan is to come together with any sports, not necessarily hockey, with any sports personalities. I probably forgot the radio sports talk show. Gio and Mr.
On the fan.
Yes, WFAN. So we did have an opportunity to donate masks to them as well.
Awesome.
So
Boomer and Gio.
Boomer. There you go. My God. Yeah. One of the most long. I don't know why it was on the tip of my tongue. He's a long time New York Rangers fan. Obviously, he's a former Jets player, which we do make masks for, but we decided to make him a New York Rangers mask. So that was a spectacular connection for us. Like I said, it's a wonderful stepping stone that the mask that we were creating, it gave us a wonderful opportunity to get into the community. So it's been bittersweet, so to speak, but we go on. So we continue reaching out and doing all we have to do. But like I said before, it's any sport, any team, any sports personality. So we decided to, as opposed to just regular fans as an organization, to team up with sports current and former players and team up together to reach out. I can think no better industry or personality wise is in sports to help the community. So we're not going to be able to do it ourselves. Yep. As hard as we want to work, I believe that teaming up with these individuals is going to create a wonderful spark.
Definitely agree. Yep. What has the outpouring of support and donations from Ranger fans been like? I mean, they're wearing the Ranger players are wearing their masks in the bubble. What's that like? To be honest, to be very honest, it's probably one of the most humbling experiences I've ever had in my entire life. I couldn't see from a personal perspective a more rewarding feeling that I've ever had in my whole career as a fan. And I call that career is because I'm a through and through true diehard. So I live, breathe the New York Rangers and my family. So that's the two most important things that are to me. So the outpour began when we launched this project of the fans for face mask for fans project. So when we ran out of our own t-shirts that we were cultivating these masks, fans reached out to us and said, you know what, you guys have got to continue this project. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to send out our own t-shirts and our own jerseys. And that's how we continued to making them from fans' own donated material. So the support is unbelievable. It's just like you hear in the players that they are. The fans are the same. So the humility, the pride, the honor, it all falls under that same criteria. It's New York Rangers and hockey fans. They're like no other.
It's so true. Hockey fans are really willing to donate their time and effort into helping the community. And we've seen it so far during COVID, especially with this. So before we let you go, why don't you tell us and all the people listening how they can donate and help out this great cause?
Absolutely. So like I said, we are brand new, but we are looking to expand. We've listed a number of initiatives. It is Altrunite, ALTRUNITE, Altrunite.com. The website is up. It is a beautiful website. My name, Tolik Borts, TOLIK BORTS. It is on all three platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. With this organization, I was forced to open up Twitter and Instagram. It has become super beneficial. Yep. Facebook is one of our most derived, fan-driven support platforms. But we are expanding. We are looking for donors, so we would appreciate any donation to reach that $9,000. Any sports equipment we can possibly use. Even if you go on our website or my post on Facebook recently, we've even begun to collect broken hockey sticks to build benches or lamps or chairs to auction off and to raise money for that matter. So we're looking at any path to do whatever we can. So,
Tolik, we really appreciate you coming on and telling us about it. I mean, this is a wonderful nonprofit. We'll definitely spread the word, keep doing what you're doing, and we look forward to talking to you soon and seeing how it's going.
It has been an absolute pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for providing me the opportunity to spread the awareness. I really appreciate it, and I hope to speak to you guys soon.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you. Us as
Take
well.
care. Great interview with Tolik. You know, they're doing a lot of good things. We see a lot of organizations try to branch out and provide for the community. I mean, we talked to Blue Line owner Donald Rosner a couple of weeks ago. I mean, these are just regular people trying to make a difference. So why not help them out? Great cause. And he's got cool masks. The Rangers wore them. It's awesome to see.
Yep. For those people listening that are Rangers fans and you didn't quite understand what we were talking about when we said you saw players wearing them in the bubble, the Rangers actually posted on their Instagram, Twitter, social media accounts, the players walking into the arena wearing masks with their number on it. And a lot of people thought that it was the Rangers who provided those masks, but it was actually Tolik Borts and his company Altrunite, which is awesome and all done for non-for-profit for a great cause. And we really hope if you have old equipment or jerseys or shirts that you're not using, you please donate it, and it'll really help and go a long way for people that need masks on the front line. So we're about to go to a commercial break. Everybody stay with us. When we come back, we're going to talk more hockey, baseball, and at the 10:30 hour, we're going to have Mark Scheig of the Hockey Writers on, so stay with us.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the BS Sports Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the BS Sports Show. So before we get into the MLB talk around the Yankees and the Mets and Lucas Giolito of the White Sox, we first want to congratulate Mike Green on retiring from the NHL after 15 seasons. As two people who are fans of teams in the East and the Rangers and Islanders, Mike Green, when he was on the Capitals, was a pest to play against and one of the best defensemen during that time, offensively at least, and a great career, 15-year career, 880 games played, over almost 22 minutes of ice time, 501 points, 150 goals. So just a really, really great career for Mike Green.
Definitely is, Brendan. He scored a big goal against the Rangers in 2013.
We don't talk about stuff like that, Stefan, on this podcast.
We have to cover everything. I don't know what to tell you. Game 2 overtime winner in 2013. I watched this before the show to get pumped up. He was very excited after the goal. The place went nuts. I forgot what it was like to see fans celebrating, actually. I was like, wait, what are these people doing here? I remembered it was from 7 years ago. No, hell of a career, like you said. We're watching teams in the East. We played against him numerous times. He's such a workhorse of a defenseman. He didn't get the goals and the assists all the time. He was a workhorse, big hits, big plays for this Capitals team. I mean, he's played Capitals. That's where he was known, Washington Capitals. He goes to Detroit. Didn't realize he played for Detroit for 5 seasons. And we shouldn't even count him playing with Edmonton because he played 2 games and that was it. But again, great career. We wish him the best. Hopefully maybe we'll see him on TV or doing something. But right off into the sunset, my friend. Enjoy because you worked it. Yeah, you deserve it.
Yeah, so let's dive in now to the MLB before we get to the Yankees, because I got a little rant to go on when we get to the Yankees. But Lucas Giolito for the Chicago White Sox threw a no-hitter. I believe it's the first one of this season. absolutely dominant performance. 101 pitches, 9 innings, obviously, 13 Ks, and the only base runner was a walk. So the fact that you had 13 Ks and only threw 101 pitches over 9 innings means he was that dominant, that locked in. Not many 2-ball counts, if that. And White Sox beat the Pirates 4-0. If you're going to pick a team to no-hit, it's probably the Pirates right now, the way they're playing. But, I mean, credit to Lucas Giolito. He's the White Sox ace. They're a resurgent ball club, and he looked dominant yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that they expect to be the ace of this pitching staff. He's a young guy. He's got to work his craft. He's got to figure it out. But clearly he had things working the other day. And like you said, the Pirates, not a great team. They shut the door. He gets the offense. That's always important in these no-hitters, is getting the offense, getting the confidence that, all right, you know what? You're up 4-0. Let's say this no-hitter goes by the boards, right? But you're not afraid to make a mistake. When it's a 0-0 no-hitter or 1-0, it's like they nibble. And then what happens with that is they either walk somebody to end up, I mean, he only had one walk. That was the only base runner. But you walk somebody or you pinch, try to be perfect. And when you try to be perfect, you make a mistake like walk somebody that loses the perfect game, or you throw a ball where you don't want to and someone hits it. So I think getting the runs, confidence booster, like we said, this is a young guy. He doesn't have to play this every time, but they need to see impressive outings, 7 innings plus, 9 Ks. I mean, this is a guy that definitely could do it, and this is why he was acquired.
Yep, definitely. And now we'll move into the Yankees and Mets. Obviously, the Yankees and Mets were supposed to play the first series of the Subway Series, and it got postponed due to 2 COVID positives or related tests in that regard. I think it was Andres Jimenez and Thomas Nido, who are on the IL for undisclosed reasons. Not saying they have it, but they could have come into contact with somebody that did test positive. So that's why it was postponed. Obviously, it wasn't serious and no outbreaks. So this was a good job by the MLB getting in front of it, because both teams are since playing. The Mets and Yankees are scheduled to play this weekend, August 28th through the 30th. It was supposed to be a 3-game set. Now they're planning on doing a doubleheader on the 28th, 1 game on the 29th, and another doubleheader on the 30th. So 5 games of the Subway Series in 3 days. Should be fun baseball to watch. Obviously, the Yankees are struggling mightily right now, and they're going to go into this series hoping to end a 5-game losing streak.
Yeah, it's not been good for New York sports, let me tell you, especially with baseball. Islanders, only faith, again, they lose today. But you look at the Mets, and the Yankees are on a slide. I mean, the injuries are just – do you have a rant to go on, Brendan? Did you forget about your rant, or you want to do that?
No, I'm waiting for you first. Okay. I'll go on in a second.
Yeah, I know what it's going to be about, so I'm not even going to bring it up. But you look at the Yankees, and this isn't expected. Again, injury-riddled season. See where you're going with this. Injury-riddled season, and it's last year was next man up. But, I mean, it's just annoying at this point. But for the Mets, hope was lost. They call up some prospects. Oh, maybe they could play well. They get shut out in the split doubleheader yesterday, 4-0 by the Marlins, and then 3-0 by the Marlins. There was a stolen base, Brendan. Did you see this?
Oh, I saw it. He stumbled and still stole home. Yeah.
Okay, so, when you think of a stolen base, it's just the epitome of the New York Mets. Epitome. Embarrassment. This is like, if the Mets could put one picture or one tweet, it would either be this or the Luis Castillo drop ball.
Yep.
Or the Beltran strike. They actually, I lied. There's a lot. But this is this is definitely up there. When you see a guy stealing home, usually it's right on the pitch. They're trying to do a quick play, get you off guard. This was a Little League stolen base.
It was.
When the catcher throws it back to the pitcher and lobs it, and the guy is going, he stumbles, gets up, the ball is thrown to home, it bounces, catcher can't come up with it. The run scores. I'm watching it this morning going, fortunately and unfortunately, I'm a Yankee fan, and obviously it's paid off in the past, and obviously the Yankees are a better team, but I can't imagine just this. You expect it. Like, if any team is going to do that, like, I'm shocked that Giolito didn't no-hit the Mets. Like, because you think it happens to the Mets. Every bad thing that could possibly happen, COVID-related, Cespedes walking out, the injuries that they've had, like we said, Yankee-itis, they've been hit with injuries in a year where they really could have done damage.
Yep.
Starting pitchers gone, key bats in the lineup gone, old players not playing well. I don't know, bullpen's terrible. It's just on and on with these Mets. Like, just nuke the team and start completely fresh, because it's just a pain to. I really, really, really. Let's pour it out for the Mets. I'm going to get on my computer. We can't, but it's just.
It's bad. It's
tiring, Met fans. I feel your pain. Maybe it's time to just. You don't ever want to leave the Mets. You're a Met fan at heart, but if you're, you need to see. It all comes down to starting with this ownership. Ownership did not cause COVID. They didn't cause injuries, but it's ownership. Go out, get a stud, get a guy like JT Realmuto, get a guy like Trevor Bauer. Maybe you have money. You do have money, but the fake news telling you guys that you don't have money and you can't spend is a lie. You're just spending it on the wrong people. Chad Lowry, trading, like, look at all this stuff, and it's just the epitome of a New York Mets franchise that is never going to be able to turn a page if they don't spend money and just wake up. Because, the Yankees were a winning team all the time. They win. But that came from ownership, players' willingness to get out there on the field. We need to see something from the Mets to show life, whether it's get a new ownership, get a big trade, even a guy coming back from injury and just dominate. We need Pete Alonso getting hot right now would just help Met fans calm down and give them right now. What are you watching for? What is the reason to watch for it? You'd be embarrassed and go to work the next day and have your Red Sox or Yankee coworker going, haha, you suck, go home. Like, no, you want to be able to walk into work and go, yeah, the Mets play bad, but you know what? Pete Alonso looks great. Some rookies look great. DeGrom, besides DeGrom, again, you feel bad for DeGrom and of everybody because he's wasting his career here. But go on your rant, Brendan. I know you're dying. I see the blood vessels popping, your face getting all red like our logo behind you. Go for it.
We will follow your Met rant with my Yankee rant. And first of all, I'm going to start with a simple part. The injuries will finish. But Game 2, Masahiro Tanaka had 66 pitches over 5 shutout innings. The Yankees are up 1-0. Boone, and this is a quote, I thought Tanaka had emptied the tank. At 66 pitches through 5 innings, takes him out. Next inning, Chad Green comes in, 2-run home run. The Yankees lose Game 2 of the doubleheader. It's moronic. And it's not the first time this year that Aaron Boone has made a just mind-boggling bullpen decision. It's consistent now. And I think he's on the hot seat just because of the plain stupidity that we've seen out of these bullpen moves. Everything else has been pretty much fine. It's just these bullpen decisions. Tanaka, 66 pitches after how many days off? We're talking about a Yankee team that hasn't played in 3 days, so he's fully rested. Come on, he didn't empty the tank. They lost the first game of the doubleheader 5-1. Garrett Cole's first loss in 28 starts. He had a 28-game streak of not losing, and then he had a 20-game win streak also, so both have ended. Luke Voit, home run in 5 straight games. That ended in the second game too. But you look at Game 2, right? You already have Paxton on the injury list. You already have Gleyber Torres, LeMahieu, Zach Britton. The list goes on of how many Yankees are injured, and it's the same thing every year. Giancarlo Stanton, not even going to mention him in this because I would go on the whole show if I was talking about Stanton and Charmin Ultrasoft over there. But listen, Aaron Judge made it blatantly clear that he was healthy. I shouldn't have been placed on the 10-day IL. There is no reason for me to be on this injured list. I'm ready to play right now. I'm 100%. Those words came out of his mouth at least 5 times over the last 3 or 4 days. He plays a total of 6 innings before being removed because of calf tightness. First of all, what is calf tightness? All right, you got personal trainers up the wazoo in that clubhouse. Have somebody rub out your calf. Go back on the field. All right, big boy, you're 6'7". It's time. It's time to man up and play through some pain, especially when everybody else on this team obviously can't. Right? It's absurd. They make Icy Hot, right? I used it in high school all the time. Oh, my shoulder hurts. You rub some Icy Hot on it. You go back out there like nothing ever happened. You got to play through pain. Now there's a chance he's going to go back on the IL. So either you weren't 100%, you were lying this whole time, or you legitimately just should not be playing. And how on earth can this team invest in him in the long term? There is no way you can possibly – he's been on the IL now 3 times if he goes on the IL now, and not even 30 games this season after he would have missed the full 3 months of the season if they started on time. It is absolutely absurd. The only thing this team needs to acquire at the trade deadline is pain tolerance. That's it.
Tylenol.
And Tylenol and Icy Hot and something. Somebody's got to look these guys in the eyes and say, how much are you getting paid? Play.
What I don't understand, and I won't rant about it because you pretty much hit the nail on the whatever it's called, coffin. You're in a sport, right, where you're swinging a bat. Okay, I get the forearms, I get the arms and everything. Half the game is you running. Half the game is you running in the field, running to first. I mean, the amount of injuries we see on guys going to – yes, I get it. You're running hard. I'm so proud that you're doing your job. I am so proud that you don't jog down. Fine by me. How do you pull muscles that easily? I just don't understand how I play hurt. I am hurt all the time. I play softball every week, and I get injured every single game. I'm probably concussed. I have torn ligaments in my shoulders But for the love of softball on Sunday morning, not paid, no sponsors. We lost our sponsor. We don't have sponsors anymore. Just for the love of the game, I put an icy out patch on my shoulders. I tie my cleats tight. I hustle my butt off. I get hurt, and I suck it up because I love playing the game. When does it become financially? It could be the team's fault. Oh, he's hurt a little bit. Put him on the IL. We can't risk it. George saying, no, I'm healthy. I want to get back out there. You just gave them a solid reason to not let you come off the IL unless they are 100% certain because they want you next year.
He's never coming off the IL.
No, but I mean, I just don't understand the injuries with running or jogging or stepping wrong. Yes, you step wrong, you tweak an ankle. We've all done that to our ankle where we get up, we jog in place for 25 seconds at most. And if it hurts a lot, we sit. Fine, miss a day. It's not like you got hit with a 107 mile an hour pitch in the ankle and broke it. You're talking about being in a little bit of pain. Guess what? Ice it. Take an ice bath. I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you right now, I'm going to do a better job training these guys because the Yankees left. They fired their whole training staff after last year, and what happened? Same thing again this year. It's not even – it's actually comical. It is actually comical that we're seeing a guy who had the potential – Trout, not going to – he had the potential to be the best player in baseball. Trout's an unreal player, but I'm sorry. A guy that's 6'7", 200 – there's some benefits to being that big and being able to do what he does, where he could be top 5 player in baseball every year. We saw right away how he could bat. Consistent batting average, home runs, RBIs, crushing baseballs, and in the field. Better than average outfielder, diving plays. He uses his reach. Useless. Let's say it was an arm thing. That's fine. You can only bat, you can't field. They could DH him, but he has to run to first. In softball and baseball, when there's sometimes where you could run from home plate and have someone else run for you if you can't really run. But this is not happening in Major League Baseball. You have to be able to run. If you can't honestly do that and stay healthy, retire. Because you're going to injure yourself to the point where when you're older, you're not going to be able to walk. You're going to be in pain. Quit baseball. Don't do it. If you really can't run to first base or can't jog or do any of that, you're putting your life in risk. You're putting your life in risk and not being able to live out your life when you retire. Because I'm telling you this now, if the Yankees offer him a max contract of whatever they want to do, you do that, right? He gets hurt. That's completely on the Yankees organization because he's showing you Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C. Don't do this. Do not offer me a contract. It's not going to – hey, Judge is saying to Cashman, yeah, honestly, don't do it. It's just a waste of your money at this point. Look what's happening to Stanton. These players are players that are brought here to help the Yankees – I mean, brought here as in the Yankees, call them up, whatever, to win championships. Get Cole. It doesn't matter. If you have Cole and he does what he does. Today was – you can't put this past Cole. He has been brilliant. We talk about Varlamov for the Islanders. He's been brilliant. But at one point or another, it's gonna not be brilliance, and you're gonna have to deal with it and move on. I guarantee Cole comes back next game, 7 innings, shutout baseball. He's gonna be great. He's that kind of player. He made a few mistakes today, it cost him. But this team is the same thing as DeGrom. You have Garrett Cole, but if no one's gonna stay healthy, which means they're not gonna produce, and they have all these guys coming off the bench and players that don't play every day, they can only hold on for so long until they need their stars to come back and perform. And by rushing back when you aren't 100% healthy, because, you think about it, and it's either you are 100% healthy or there's a little thought in your mind where it's like, oh, maybe I'm 99. But 99 and 100, completely different. And I think the Yankees are in a lot of trouble. They're now no longer in first place. I think they're a half game back or 1.5 games back?
There might be 2.5, 3. They were 1.5 before the game 2 loss, so 2 games back.
I mean, it's for the first time in a long time, Brendan, I feel like a Met fan.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing that bothers me the most, right? We see hockey, different mentality. These guys, Brendan Gallagher was chirping with a broken jaw that whole game, right? It's just completely different mindset. But football, what do they do in football? All they do is run. I've never seen a football player leave a game with a calf strain. I've never seen somebody leave with calf tightness. And these guys are running up and down the field getting hit. So what are they doing rounding bases that leads to this much calf tightness? I mean, they make knee braces. Do they make calf braces? Because this whole entire team should be sponsored. Whoever wants to invent a calf brace should sponsor the New York Yankees because I've never seen this many calf-related injuries. And we know full well Zach Britton didn't injure his hamstring. He had a bad outing, right?
That's another – all right. I would love to get into that for a minute before we go to commercial. Is the fact that I see it more in baseball than any other sport, where if a player has a terrible game, mostly pitching, somehow they leave the game late in the outing with some tightness, or they come back in the game, just went for an MRI due to a tightness in his shoulder. Oh, MRI came back positive that he has tightness, or x-rays are negative, but he's on the IL. Grow up, you play bad. It happens. It's Major League Baseball. It's so hard to get to. There'll be outings when you're bad. Own up to it. We see Henrik Lundqvist is the epitome of this. Anytime he has a bad game, it's not, you know what, actually, or his coach going, he was hurt. No, it's, I played bad. Sorry, team. I let you guys down. Where's the accountability in baseball? There is zero accountability in baseball.
I will never. Last year, they had 33, I think, players at the IL. And I was angry as a Yankees fan saying, wow, I mean, you guys got to play through some stuff. But it wasn't the players' fault. We're looking at the training staff, what's going on. It gets to a point where it's too much too often. These Yankees players have to start to be able to stay healthy. And I don't think most athletes fake injuries. And I think that there's something wrong, but there's a difference between being injured and going onto an IL and just being a little nicked up and being able to play through it. And I think that the Yankees are going to have to find that common ground. When we get back from this commercial break, Mark Scheig of the Hockey Writers will be joining us, so stay with us.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the BS Sports Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the BS Sports Show. As we said before the break, Mark Scheig of the Hockey Writers will be joining us any moment now. A brief scoreboard update: the Tampa Bay Lightning, who ousted the Columbus Blue Jackets, are up 7-1. So Halak did not do his job and did not hold the fort down, and the Bruins are getting absolutely pumped right now by the Lightning.
Mark Scheig is here, so let's welcome him to the show and get ready for an interview talking about the Columbus Blue Jackets. He is a writer for the Hockey Writers, covering the Blue Jackets, so let's hear him. Hey, Mr. Scheig, how are you doing today?
Good, guys. How are you?
I'm doing all right. The Islanders, hurt me a little bit today, but all in all, we're doing good. So let's get right into this. Brendan, you could start it off.
Yep. So obviously the big talk about the offseason was Bobrovsky and Panarin's departure. The consensus for the Blue Jackets was that they would fail to qualify for the postseason, and they didn't do that despite being eliminated in the first round. What do you think was the key to their success this season?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that were the key to the success, but the biggest thing was a change in their style. I mean, ultimately, Torts knew the Stars leaving was going to be a problem. There were ultimately questions with the goaltending and other things like that, but they made it so that their style was defensive, actually kind of similar to the Islanders and what Barry Trotz has done. They just said, look, we're going to lock everything down. We're going to make life easier on our goaltenders, and we're going to play it like that. And if our offense suffers a little bit, well, so be it. I mean, we know that the Stars are gone. Players have to prove themselves. We feel like that we can win this way, and the key was everybody bought in. Every player from top to bottom bought in. And then what's even more impressive is all the injuries that they had. So it didn't matter who went into the lineup. Everybody bought into the system. They knew what their role was. And this whole thing about proving themselves to everybody, that had a big factor. Nobody gave them a chance. They go, yeah, watch this. And ultimately they made the playoffs.
That's how you have to do it. I mean, you look at the Islanders, and a couple years ago, John Tavares, their best player, leaves. But it provides room for players like Barzal to get first-line minutes, other players to step in there and produce. Are we seeing the same thing happen with Columbus this year with some guys that, with these stars on the team like Duchesne, Panarin, Bobrovsky? Obviously in goal, we saw a lot of good things this year. But are we seeing that with Columbus where more young guys are getting an opportunity?
Absolutely. And in fact, the deeper players on the roster were able to get a chance because, of the departures and all the injuries, and they were able to learn what exactly they have. I mean, it's not exactly like Tavares, but it's pretty close. I mean, Panarin was the big one that left. They haven't been able to replace him. That's what ultimately cost them in the first round series against Tampa Bay. But yeah, there's players on the way. Like Kirill Marchenko's over in Russia, will be over in a couple of years. A couple other young guys that are coming over. So yeah, it's a very similar situation to the Islanders.
I mean, they definitely have proven that you don't need a star power necessarily to have success in the NHL. And the main reason for that is John Tortorella. As a Ranger fan and somebody who covers the Rangers, I have watched Tortorella do his thing behind a bench, and it's not for everybody, but it does work. So what do you think he does to get the most out of a team? And is he in the consideration for potentially being one of the greatest coaches of all time?
That's actually a really good question about, is he one of the greatest of all time? But starting with what does he do to get the most out of his team? He is a master motivator. I mean, he plays the us against the world card about as good as anybody that's out there. I mean, you saw the stars that left, obviously. I mean, those that don't pay attention to Columbus, they look at the roster like, who are these guys?
Yep.
Some of the names might look a little bit strange, but they went in, and the key is they bought in. Like, the big thing that Tortorella has been able to do is the culture. Before he got there, when Todd Richards was still the coach, there was a culture problem. Tortorella came in, and from day one, he didn't even know who the players were. They actually had to have nameplates put on the back of their jerseys for him to get started there. And from that point, and now they've made the playoffs for 4 consecutive years. Just, he knows how to get the most out of them, just his leadership. And I think that's one of the biggest things that a lot of fans miss, because they know him for the antics, they know him for the media outbursts. But behind the scenes, you ask any player that's played for him, he is one of the best coaches that players have had, and they openly admit that. And going to your question now about, is he one of the greatest of all time? He has to be. He's up for a 3rd Jack Adams. He's won a Stanley Cup. He's made deep playoff runs on multiple teams, Tampa Bay, the Rangers. Now he's made 4 consecutive playoffs with Columbus. Yeah, number of wins as well. I mean, I think there's still a couple coaches that are better than him because of how much they've won, but he has to be in that conversation, certainly as one of the best of all time, maybe the greatest U.S. coach of all time.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's also the fact that he hasn't done it with necessarily the big type of talent. None of his teams have had star power. Even the teams on the Rangers that went far were defensive first, gritty teams. So that's a big tribute to the coach.
Yep.
As me being a goalie and, watching goaltenders is something I just love to do, break down their plays. What we saw from Korpisalo in the playoffs, what we saw from the tandem with Merzlikins during the regular season, were you shocked on how well they were able to cover the hole that Bobrovsky left? I mean, Bobrovsky had a terrible year with Florida, but these are 2 young guys that came in, stepped up, and did their job.
Most definitely, and wasn't too surprised about Korpisalo. He was the one under Bobrovsky for many years, so you knew it was his time. The big question was Merzlikins. Could he come in from Switzerland? Could he get used to the smaller rinks in North America? And could he make the adjustment? At first, it didn't look like it. I mean, he got hammered 7-2 and then couldn't win a game. And then all of a sudden, he got his chance on New Year's Eve at home against Sergei Bobrovsky.
Yep.
Won that game 4-1. And then his legend, well, not legend, but, his aura just kind of took off from there. 5 shutouts in 8 games among it. Columbus is going to have a very interesting decision coming up. Are they going to keep the goaltenders together? Do they need to maybe trade one of them for a little bit of help? Now that's something they're going to have to answer. But ultimately, there was a huge question in goal. Could one of them step up? And it turned out both of them stepped up. Both of them now are under contract for the next 2 years. So if they leave them alone, it went from one of the biggest questions on the team to one of their biggest strengths.
I mean, like I said, I mean, we saw what Korpisalo did in the playoffs. He did what he could to keep his team in it. Just Tampa was a more high-powered offense, and they found a way to get through. But, I mean, it was just so impressive, just the never-quit attitude. And obviously, we're saying that as, people watching it, writers, that being said. But these players are competitive, and they get it from their coach. Like, Tortorella, never give up. He demands a lot from his players, especially with blocking shots, too. Obviously, they block an abundance of shots per game, which the goalies definitely like. But you just saw the confidence coming off of Korpisalo. Every time he got out there, you knew, all right, he's going to have a hell of a game. He's going to stand on his head. And it was just awesome to see.
Yeah, how about that? The 5 overtime game, he had, 85 saves or something like that. Like, you just knew that if something was going to beat him, it'd have to be the perfect shot. And his confidence did translate to the rest of the team. Like, yeah, like you said, when he went in net, you just knew that he was going to have a really, really good game. And he's come a long way, too. I mean, he had a little bit of a rough start to the year, as a starter, had some attitude issues. Like, there were a couple games I know in Colorado, like when they scored a goal late, he slammed a stick against the post, and Tortorella didn't really appreciate that at all. So there was still a learning curve for him. But then once he was able to finally get a few games under his belt, knowing that he was the number one, and Elvis struggled, so that gave him that opportunity, he kind of grew up a little bit, he matured, and he became an all-star this year.
He really did. And you mentioned Columbus's string of success in the playoffs and their postseason appearances. The Metro Division now is starting to get stronger. Obviously, you have the Rangers winning the number one overall pick. Teams are starting to build up, and it's still it's probably the best division in hockey. So how hard do you think it's going to be for Columbus to continue their run of playoff appearances? Shouldn't
be that hard. They've already proven they can get to the playoffs. Yep. The system that they run, the Tortorella defensive system, where you have to block a shot or basically you're not going to play, they've been able to make that work for 4 straight seasons. Their challenge, though, is to be able to get to the next level. And unfortunately, I wrote the other day, Superman, Batman, whichever superhero you want to come up with, they're not going through the doors of Nationwide Arena. They're just not. They don't have the number one pick like the Rangers do. Yeah. But they do have some very interesting pieces. And so it's going to be a combination of things. Pierre-Luc Dubois, 3rd overall pick in 2016, was an absolute stud in the Toronto and the Tampa Bay series. Yeah. They can build a team around him. With Jones and Werenski on the back end, that's as solid as you're going to get, and with solid goaltending. So you have pieces in place. They're going to have to try to find a way to get better offensively. I mean, Jarmo Kekalainen swung for the fences a few years back when they traded for Artemi Panarin, so he's not afraid. It's just he has to find the right deal, and he's going to try like heck to be able to do that, but they'll be able to sustain it. It's just, the rest of the division's going to be tougher. So it'll certainly be tougher, but they still should have some success because they've proven they have the pieces. It's just now, can the youth kind of make the next level, and then can they find the right deal to get them over the top to finally get past the second round?
You mentioned those European prospects that are a couple of years away. Do you think that because they know the success that they've had, maybe they move 1 or 2 of them and try to get a now player?
That's a great question, because there's a few ways that they could go about doing it. It's either they could trade one of those prospects, like you mentioned, could be Marchenko, could be another goaltender, Daniil Tarasov, who actually might be the best of the bunch.
Yeah.
Who's still over in Russia. So if the right deal comes along, they could do that. They could dangle possibly their first round draft pick, which right now is no worse than 21st overall. If they want to hold on to it, they can, but with the right deal, they'll certainly consider moving that pick. Or they have an abundance of defensemen too. They're not going to move Jones. They're not going to move Werenski, but I just wonder, maybe David Savard. Yeah. He's a right shot defenseman. He's going into his age 30 season. He's an unrestricted free agent after next season. They got guys like Andrew Peeke on the way up, who's also a right-handed shot and would be a nice heir apparent. Do you consider moving a Savard, who's a shot blocking wizard and would be he would be wonderful in Toronto? They need a right shot defenseman like a pig needs mud, seriously. So they have a lot of options. They're not going to really be able to do free agency much, only because they're cap strapped. So whatever cap they have left, they have to sign Dubois. Josh Anderson, somebody they may sign, they may have to trade him. That's something they're going to have to see what they're going to do there. But plenty of options. It's just a matter of, who's out there and which teams are most cap strapped, and maybe you can find an opportunity to somebody that needs to open some cap space up.
Last question before we let you go. Throughout everything happening with players coming in, players coming out, the leadership of Nick Foligno has been there. And, you saw last year when they were going on the runs, he would hug Bobrovsky after every win. I automatically saw it this year when he does it to Korpisalo. I think it was with Merz Lincolns after they beat on that Bobrovsky in Florida, the hugging. You always see him as a leader. Maybe he doesn't do all the things you want him to do on the scoreboard, but he came up big in the playoffs at times. What can you say about his leadership through all of this?
Oh, his leadership has grown leaps and bounds since he became a captain. In fact, Tortorella at first came out and said to Foligno, "We don't think that you can be a captain." Like, he wasn't convinced that he could be able to do that, but he took it upon himself to take that role, learn what it meant to be a captain, and then to translate in his game. And you're right, it hasn't been great offensively for him, the way that he would expect, but he's still very responsible defensively, and he's still a major voice in, like, no matter what's going on, no matter if it's negative, positive, he's always available. So he's a really good role model, and I think the young players do look at him as somebody that they certainly can look up to. And it'll be interesting because he's starting to get up there in age a little bit. How much does he have left? He's actually 1 year away from unrestricted free agency himself. Would he be willing to take less to stay in Columbus? Does he want to go somewhere to try and win a cup? Whatever it ends up being, he's still going to be remembered as one of the most popular Blue Jackets of all time, just because of not only the impact on the ice, but the impact off the ice too. Just so many. He's a community giant. He's all about Columbus. Just everything that he does is just so positive.
I lied. I do have one more question. Sure. You brought up Seth Jones earlier. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's the best defenseman in the league, but is he the most important defenseman to a team around the NHL? Because he eats minutes. He's an offensive defenseman. He just plays a complete game. Is he that important to Columbus's, advancing to the next rounds in the future? Like, how big of a part is he?
Oh, he is the biggest part. Dubois is eventually going to take that role from an offensive standpoint, but if you're looking defensively overall on the team right now, the Columbus Blue Jackets don't get to where they got this year without Seth Jones. Heck, he played 65 minutes in the 5 overtime game. I mean, how on earth? I mean, we think he's robotic at times.
Yeah.
But in terms of importance, you don't get much more important than that. I'd argue maybe Victor Hedman isn't just as important to Tampa Bay. Somebody you could think of another, like Roman Josi is another one. There's a few guys that you can kind of name that are just as important. But Jones is that's why they made the trade back in 2016, the Johansson for Jones trade. I mean, you look back on now, it's one of the benchmark moments in Blue Jackets history. Yep. Imagine if they didn't have Seth Jones now and where things would be. They made it a priority to get a right shot defenseman that would be under control. They signed him to a 5-year deal. And what'll be really interesting now is he's an unrestricted free agent 2 seasons from now. He's probably going to get near Drew Doughty money. No?
I would think so.
So you're talking $11 million.
Yeah, that's a hefty cap right there.
Imagine Nashville kept Seth Jones and they have Josi and Seth Jones. That's an elite top defensive pairing right there.
I don't think they would have been able to keep both of them. Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
It really is. Mark, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. And as somebody who's recently joined the Hockey Writers, I look forward to working with you in the near future as well.
We look forward to working with you too. It was a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
What an awesome interview. I know we talk a lot about the Islanders and the Rangers, but it's very interesting to see, talk about other teams. Columbus, they shocked the hockey world last year with sweeping the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round.
Yep. This
year it doesn't happen, but they shock again by making the playoffs despite losing. We say it every time. Duchesne, it's memorized. Duchesne, Bobrovsky, Panarin. Duchesne didn't have a great year. We could scratch him. Bobrovsky didn't have a great year, but just a Panarin guy. That's you're taking probably 30 to 40% of your offense.
Yep.
Just because he was electric in the playoffs last year. It was exciting to watch. Now I hate his guts. Can't root for him. I hope he pulls something when he does a leg kick.
Oh, he's never too flexible. He's not going to get any hamstring strain like the Yankees are. But once again, thank you to Mark Scheig for coming on. Check out his work at thehockeywriters.com. Great Columbus Blue Jackets writer. We were supposed to have him on during the Blue Jackets Lightning series, but the game went to 5 overtime. So we finally get that interview. A lot of good insight, and Columbus definitely has a lot to, think about. Obviously they have talent like Pierre-Luc Dubois, he mentioned, but they also have that whole cap situation with the pending free agents. How are they going to keep up? And I think they have a couple of years left, but once Seth Jones become a UFA and the Rangers get their footing, the Islanders now have Sorokin, the Flyers look dominant. Yeah, that division starts to get really, really difficult. So it's going to be interesting to see what route they take. Before we, finish talking about stuff, get to fan questions, I want to quickly mention what happened with the Arizona Coyotes. Obviously, the Arizona Coyotes were rumored to have violated the league's combine testing policy. They were doing some illegal stuff there, and people were like, will they get fined? Well, the NHL levied a hefty sanction against them. They took away their first-round draft pick next year and their second-round draft pick this year. So that's tough, especially a team that in Arizona that has to rely on entry-level contracts and talent because they don't have that cap room, that's a tough penalty to absorb right now.
Well, I'm telling you right now, Taylor Hall is not coming back. He's gone. That is a definite. This has been a terrible month for Arizona. John Chaika quits on the team right before bubble play begins. They win that series, but it was not a fun series to say the least after that. And they're in a tough spot because, the whole thing with the Coyotes was they were the Phoenix Coyotes. They had no fans. No one wanted to pay monies. The state buys them. It's not good when the state has to buy you. Okay. Now it's the Arizona Coyotes. Taylor Hall's probably gone. You have a guy like Phil Kessel. You look to be getting younger. You got Dvorak. You got Oliver Ekman-Larsson. So he'll be there for a while. You got great goaltending. Like, this was sort of the year to take that next step. And hopefully you make a playoff run and Taylor Hall goes, I want to stay. But with all these sanctions against them, it's probably going to make it near. They can't do it. Taylor Hall is going to be elsewhere. Buffalo Sabres are probably one of the more embarrassing teams in the NHL. But over the last month, Arizona has made the Buffalo Sabres look like a saint of an NHL organization. Yeah,
just a lot of strange headlines coming out of there. And like we said, if Taylor Hall leaves and they don't have these 2 picks, first of all, what an awful situation for whatever GM takes over to come into. Now you don't have a second round this year, and next year your first round is already gone. So trade pieces are gone. I think that Stepan winds up getting moved because that they don't want to keep that contract, and somebody can use a second line center like him, free up some space. It's going to be interesting to see how this new guy comes in and maneuvers around it. But I think we should get to some fan questions, and we have a winner to announce, don't we?
Yeah, we have a winner. So the winner of this beautiful Islanders Fanatics hat, you could adjust it. It's great. No, excuse me. You could adjust it. It's great. For me, I have a really small head, so if you get me like one size fit all crap, that's complete BS. See what I did there? Yep. Complete BS because it doesn't fit my head. But the winner of this Islander hat, and we will message you after the show, is at Islanders 1932. His name is Brian Larson. I don't know his address, or I would announce it. No, I'm kidding. But you just won the hat, so congratulations on that. We will get that to you. Let's get to some fan questions here. We had a lot of Islander ones, so we have 9 minutes. Let's go through it, okay?
Yep.
So the first one by Matteo Fabrizi. Do you think we'll see the Islanders win this series if they rely on Greiss? Well, I'll tell you right now, Greiss came in today. You will not be seeing Greiss for the remainder of the playoffs. And I'll tell you what. Greiss did an excellent job at saving the Islanders in this series because they're on a back-to-back. If Greiss had come in and got absolutely shelled, there was a solid chance that Varlamov might go back in the game or they would let Greiss eat it. But playing well, he gives Trotz the ability to play Varlamov tomorrow and see what he's got. The whole thing is could Greiss come in and shut the door and show some confidence? And he did that. If he comes in and he's shaky, you're going with Varlamov, and whatever happens to Varlamov in the rest of the series, he has no choice to ride him because you're putting in a worse goalie that's going to F up the whole entire thing for your season. Greiss comes in, shuts the door. Now Trotz knows, all right, if Varlamov is shaky next game, which I don't expect it to be like this, I expect him to shut the door, come out like he's been playing. But if he's shaky, you have the confidence to put Greiss in early and give the Islanders a chance to win, because without Greiss playing the way he played today, the Islanders are not coming back and forcing overtime, let alone giving the opportunity to win. If Greiss comes in and the first few shots, one of them goes in, now the Islanders are down 4-0. This game is over. But he gave him a chance. It was great for hockey.
Yeah, I don't think you let one bad period dictate who you start. And Varlamov has been that good. And especially after a loss, the Islanders are going to come out tighter defensively. So it's not going to be all on the goaltending next game. And I think you go back with the guy that's done it perfectly so far up until that first period.
Another one I'll do his ad because I think it's Russian. I'm not trying. I can't read Russian, but at Fish Stick Sauce. Obviously, I'm happy our season is still going, but looking forward, do you think it's worth going after Taylor Hall or Zach Parise in the offseason? As much as I want the Islanders to get the top level available, and while Taylor Hall is a much better scorer than Zach Parise, that's not even debatable. Person-wise, I don't know him personally. I know Zach Parise is a leader in the locker room. Taylor Hall lacks that. If the Islanders could get Taylor Hall, they should. Salary-wise, with the flat cap, it's going to be really tough. I think Mike Hoffman's the better option. But Zach Parise was linked to being traded to them at the deadline for Ladd and a few other pieces. Miku Koivu was in there. They couldn't figure out with compliance buyouts, and Brendan, they're not doing that, correct? There's no compliance?
I don't think so, but again, there's a lot of stuff you have to dive into to figure out all this issues.
So the biggest thing would have been is if Minnesota Wild and the Islanders could use their compliance buyouts, Minnesota would use it on Parise, the Islanders would use it on Ladd, and then Lou Lamoriello can sign Parise to whatever deal he wants. he still has a tough contract to swallow. I'm not sure off the top of my head what it is, but it's definitely he brings one to the table because he plays. Lad's not in the lineup and they're paying this guy. Even in the playoffs, he's not playing. Zach Parise is a leader. His dad was an Islander. It would be awesome to see. Since Zach Parise went on the Devils, he's one of my favorite players in the league to follow. So I would love that. Again, the whole cap situation really depends on what the league is able to do to help teams, and if they can't, it's going to be really hard for a player for them to do that.
I think you nailed that right there. I think the whole flat cap makes going after Taylor Hall, especially with the money he's going to command, it's just you can't do it. Mike Hoffman, I think, is a great fit, and even that contract's going to be tough to give out in this current situation, especially with Barzal, needing a new deal shortly. So very interesting to see how Lou Lamoriello plays it out. But again, it's Lou Lamoriello, so you never know what he's going to do. He keeps everything very close to the vest.
Another Islander one, Brendan.
Great.
Do you think the Isles will switch things up on Thursday since it's the second game of a back-to-back? So early on in this game, I did not like the way I saw Ross Johnston playing. I thought he wasn't making some plays that he should make. That being said, though, the Flyers were very trippy. Johnston did take a penalty where he went a little too far towards Carter Hart. He didn't go after Carter Hart, but right around him, and he got a penalty for that. I don't know how you don't call both. Not a ref, whatever. The rhyme, rope a tree. Anyway, with the refs, we're not all a fan of them. But you play on the Islanders, kill it off. I think he brings a lot. He had a ton of hits in game one. He really set the tone. I think the Islanders are going to stay with what they have. Switching up the lines, I'm not sure. I think you have to leave Andy Green in there. Again, early on, Andy Green didn't look sharp. He wasn't connecting on his passes. But if you change the lineup after your team with the lineup there, coming back to tie it up and force overtime, I think that would be a poor move to make.
The Islanders, the Flyers, would sense panic. And that question was asked by Isles fan 1623 on Twitter. I think that personally, watching Brassard play in the playoffs, you have to put him in the lineup. They have too many fourth liners playing right now. Ross Johnson got added, Leo Komarov still playing. They already have a great fourth line. I think one of those guys should come out and put Brassard in. After being scratched for a game, let him show that edge and go to the net and score. 2 games now. Yeah. So I've seen that guy score so many big goals. And I know he's not the same player. He's aging. Put him on the third line and let him go to work. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by what he could bring in a game 3.
Yeah, excellent questions by everyone yet again. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you following the show. Obviously, we have a lot more giveaways. I got a couple more hats to give out. I got a few pucks. I got some more Mike Sillinger bobbleheads. And Brendan, we have some exciting announcements to make about what we are going to launch very, very soon.
If you're talking about apparel, yes, we will be launching a store, or quote unquote store, as much as we can launch a store with our technological ability. But yeah, we're going to start releasing some apparel. Hopefully it's not the usual stuff, just show stuff, but we're going to go try to make some comedy shirts related to hockey and baseball, try to be as unique as possible. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. I know Stefan and I are working hard, brainstorming late at nights, trying to come up with different sayings and ideas.
Late at nights, I wake up to a text, and the text was sent. This kid, Brendan, first off, going to school with Brendan. This kid is in, unless we're going out, right? Because, we do that college life. Unless we're going out, this kid is tucked into bed at 11:30, 11:45 at night.
I need the beauty sleep.
I fell asleep last night earlier than I ever do. I think I was just excited for the Islanders hockey, and thanks a lot. But 2:30 in the morning, this guy is working his butt off trying to get designs made and everything. So appreciate you, Brendan. I won't burn your jersey. I promise.
Thank you.
No, but we have masks. We're going to sell 2. We'll post them tomorrow. Obviously spread the word. You want to show support for, with masks. Everyone has to wear a mask. It's a much needed thing right now in today's world. Brendan, this was a very interesting episode with the technical difficulties. Yeah. Hopefully that didn't really turn people away because, again, that was a little bit out of our control. But we worked. The show goes on, right, Brendan?
It does. And let me just say that on this episode, usually we do a pre-recorded interview or we do one live interview. We had 2 this time, and both, they were 2 different ones. Both were great. Obviously, Altrunite is a great nonprofit organization. Really helps out the community, especially during a pandemic and crisis like this. And Mark Scheig of the Hockey Writers really knows his stuff, especially regarding the Columbus Blue Jackets. So just great perspective all around. And I think that despite struggling to go live for the first 25 minutes, we definitely came out and were able to persevere, which is something that the Yankees are going to have to start learning how to do with half their roster on the IL.
Yeah, let's give you but before we, close this thing out, the Tampa Bay Lightning, they ran away with this one and won 7. We're seeing a lot of 7-1 games, Brendan.
There's a lot of pumpings. Yeah.
Colorado won 7-1 in back-to-back games. The Lightning do this. Let's just, let's look at the stats. We have a couple of minutes. Ready? Lightning had 31 shots in the game. They won 54.7% of faceoffs, 3 for 6 on the power play.
Yep, that'll do it.
40 hits. Bruins with 50 hits. But clearly it didn't matter because the Lightning had the puck the whole time. We talked about this earlier where you want a lot of hits, but at the same time it tells a story. 15 blocks to the Bruins 12. Wow. Shots on goal. First period for the Lightning 7. Second a third period 6. Second period 18 shots.
That's a big period.
Yeah, so
Halak got pulled in this one too. They went with Dan Vladar.
That's a problem because they play tomorrow, correct?
No, this was the.
They have a day off.
This was the back-to-back.
But you have to think now. I mean, we're out of time, but keep in the back of your minds: does Halak play the next game? Can the Islanders take a series lead tomorrow on a back-to-back? Well, we assume that Varlamov will be in there. But guys, like always, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully next time nothing will go wrong, but. Next week, I think we're only doing an hour. So
10 o'clock, yep.
We'll set you guys up with that tomorrow. Catch us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. This will be out there. Thanks, guys, again, and enjoy.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.